What is going on, everybody? It's KB. Before the episode starts, make sure you go check out StreamerSZN's brand new theme music. That's right. We have full-time, brand new theme music thanks to the newest homie and newest member of the music side of Underground Sports Philadelphia homies. That is Mobley Stay Volk. His new single is out now. It is linked in the description on YouTube, and you'll be hearing it on audio until we can figure out if we can play it on video on StreamerSZN episodes from here on out. That's our new theme music. Stay Volk. Go download it now wherever you get your music, and go check out the music video on YouTube. But now, let's get into the episode of StreamerSZN.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Concentrate.
And for one final time this season, let's do the time slip again. What is going on, fellow streamers? Welcome into another edition of StreamerSZN, the exclusive streaming platform, movie and TV podcast. I did that in reverse because that's how the Marvel title card entered on this episode. On the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network, it's KB, it's Christian. We're recording live on Friday night. Not live for you, but we're doing this on Friday night. I just got back from the movie theater.
11 p.m., by the way.
Oddly enough, not the latest I've ever recorded a podcast for this company, but I digress.
Yes, I'm just forewarning our listeners in case things start to get deranged, unconcentrated, and lots of other things. Just attribute to the fact we're both kind of mentally
Delulu.
We are mentally becoming spaghettified.
Pretty much. Pretty valid.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, we're going to break down Loki, Season 2, Episode 6, the finale episode, potentially not only for this season, but for the show as a whole.
And at least according to what those in power seem to be saying, it does seem to be like the final episode.
Yes. We've got an end to the SAG-AFTRA strike.
Joy to the world.
The strike is over. I just got back from the movie theater, like I said, so I'm going to give a non-spoiler/spoiler review of the Marvels and everything that happened in that movie, and let you know where it kind of falls in place in my post-Infinity Saga rankings.
And I'm sure we'll have a quick little spoiler conversation about the scene that most people will be talking about in the aftermath of this film.
100%. And then we'll get into the streaming platform, Multiverse News and Notes, brought to you by Kenwood Beer. But before we get into all of that, make sure you're following us on the socials at StreamerSZN on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and on TikTok at StreamerSZN Pod. Follow Christian on Twitter at @thewiz_PHI. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating and review. It really does go a long way for helping this show continue to grow. Helps us, just grow the community. And now that the strikes are over, we are actively working to get guests on this show because we can legally do so now. Most notably, our good pal Pat Pitts' brother, which finally we can have that happen.
What's his real name, though? Pat Pitts' brother.
Oddly enough, it's Matt Pitts.
Isn't it ironic?
So yeah, if there's any guests, big or small, that you can think of that you'd want to see on this show, leave it in the podcast reviews on Apple or in the YouTube comment section, youtube.com/@undergroundsportsphiladelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show every single week, every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, the whole 9 yards is on our YouTube channel, as I just knocked over almost our fancy wheel, Christian, which we'll have to implement somehow. We have a wheel.
Wheel of Fortune?
Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're trying to get to 700 subscribers before Thanksgiving. Let's make it happen. We're 76 away. I think it's possible with the power of the people.
Power of positivity.
I got the power. So yeah, subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@undergroundsportsphiladelphia. And without any further ado, it's Loki Season 2. Bars. Episode 6. It's brought to you by our merch partners at PHI Apparel Company, the best in the game. If you want to stand out in the crowd, like with this awesome Underground Sports Philadelphia hoodie that features graffiti pier in the background of it, you can get your StreamerSZN hoodie, StreamerSZN merch, which is all first edition merch. We're working on some stuff to send over for Black Friday. Go to phiapparel.co if you want to stand out in the crowd, stand out at the movie theater. I wore this hoodie to the movie theater tonight because it's hoodie season. It's comfy. You want to be comfy when you're watching a movie. No better way to do it than in your Underground Sports Philadelphia hoodies. Tag us when you get your merch. We'll repost it. We want to see where you're rocking your merch from, and it is the most effective way to support us. That's phiapparel.co, code underground for 10% off your order. Christian, before we get to your sweet, sweet spoiler warning, part 1, the finale of Loki is here. Your thoughts, my good sir, on how this season and potentially series came to a close?
Season 2 was not as good as Season 1, and I think this season had opened with too good, closed with too good, and just kind of fell short in the middle phase. I think ultimately it's probably the most successful show since the last season of Loki, which feels bad to say. But this is kind of what we want from MCU shows and not the other stuff.
Yeah, I think, I was reading something earlier from like the head honchos of Loki, and they basically wanted to approach this show as like a beginning and end of a book. So season 1 was the first half of a book, season 2 was the second half. And when I put my brain into thinking about it that way after watching the finale, I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. You kind of view Loki as almost like a 12-episode show rather than 2 6-episode seasons. Makes a lot more sense on how things kind of paced and worked, and it made me like kind of step back from where we were with that middle part where you and I were both pretty critical of it and it kind of feeling out of place. And I was like, okay, if I look at this as a 12-episode just full-on show, it makes a little more sense to how it happened rather than looking at it from just a season perspective. Still critical of it, obviously, but I thought this finale was one of the best episodes of an MCU show ever. I think it's, like you said, season 1 was better, and I think season 1 had more shock value, especially with its finale and the reveal of He Who Remains, Jonathan Majors, when nobody was expecting that. That was one of the first post-Infinity Saga, like, jaw-on-the-ground moments that Marvel has had. This season and this finale in particular was more somber and more, like, tug at the heartstrings and more, like, emotional than season 1. There is a lot of, comic book backstorying that you'll have to do if you're not too familiar with Loki as a character. But I saw a tweet, and I forgive me if I'm forgetting on who posted off to find it. Tom Hiddleston as Loki is easily Mount Rushmore of actor to character in the MCU, alongside Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Chris Evans as Cap, and I forget who they put in as the fourth, but I mean, Tom Hiddleston is Loki. Like, he does such a great job of portraying this character who has so many different facets to the character, and seeing him portray all of those over the years, and especially in this show, were brilliant. And I think he just captures the essence of the character so well.
Yeah, I do think by the end we kind of get the grand full circle of Loki more than I think other shows and movies. Like this is probably the best kind of like pseudo closed loop, and I say pseudo because I mean there's still a chance we end up getting more Loki in the future because this is the MCU and stuff happens. But I feel like this is one of the better, just like fully completed storylines of an MCU character. Just straight up.
I saw a YouTube comment on New Rockstars, and they said that Loki and Rocket Raccoon had the best character arcs in the MCU. There's a good argument.
Yes, I just feel like that's maybe discounting Iron Man a little bit.
Yeah,
I just feel like you're maybe leaving out one of, if not the most significant MCU character to help get the MCU to where it is now.
I think those
maybe
three.
That's just me.
Those three, and then I don't know who I would put as like 4 or 5, but I think those three are definitely, I think, the top 3 in terms of just like character development, character arcs, and overall progression of the MCU and the projects that they were in. Thoroughly enjoyed this finale. We're going to dive into it. Christian, drop that sweet ass spoiler warning for the people.
Wow, okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is your friendly and final neighborhood spoiler warning for Loki Season 2. For those unfamiliar with our podcast, we would like you to please pause if you've not watched this week's episode of Loki. Go watch this week's episode of Loki and come back so we can have fun, enjoyable conversation about this week's episode of Loki. Then, when you come back, put this podcast back on play and listen to our wonderful dulcet tones. This has been your friendly neighborhood spoiler warning. Beep.
Wow.
Wow.
So here it is, episode 6 of season 2.
Glorious Purpose.
Which, oddly enough, was the title of the very first episode of Loki. And it starts off with the previously on, and we hear Loki say the phrase glorious purpose for the first time in the MCU. We get a lot of Loki flashbacks, which was great, and Loki time slips to the moment before the temporal loom's explosion, and despite his attempts, the loom always fails to accommodate the infinite branches. I also have to say, the music selection for this episode was fucking brilliant.
That specifically in when we just start going full Groundhog Day.
Yes.
That's a lot of fun.
That was great. And the opening title card music was just like, I was sitting on my couch, like bobbing my head like the Jay-Z gif. I was like, this is a banger. The music was phenomenal. So Loki slips to the moment before Sylvie kills He Who Remains, who tells Loki that the loom is a failsafe. Overloading it protects the sacred timeline by deleting the branches along with the TVA.
Pause. Let's pause here to just... As much as he's fucking fumbled the bag so hard and has potentially tossed this entire stage of the MCU into chaos because of him being a big himbo, to a certain degree dumbass, He Who Remains Majors is maybe my favorite MCU character. Just because he's both charming and smart and a little snarky, but it's not like a Tony Stark type thing. It's just like, it's the grand man. it's the grin and the delivery. I'm just like, oh my god, you're so good and so talented.
He's witty, not arrogant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the constant refresh of "see you soon" was just so good, because it's like he knows every single time what's going to happen.
It was so great. It was so great when he pauses it, they talk, he unpauses it, and then when Loki pauses it and his reaction, I'm just like, yes.
Gotta go back further, earlier. Also very interesting. I wouldn't necessarily call it a retcon, but the usage of a season 1 line from He Who Remains, where he talks about rebirth and regeneration, pretty much, where in season 1 we thought that meant a new Kang variant would come through and regenerate, but then the way that it's used and refreshed in season 2 is basically talking about how He Who Remains would continue to refresh and regenerate, because he wrote all of this into the script. It's all scripted. So that was a fun little detail there that I picked up on. And He Who Remains suggests Loki kill Sylvie to save the Loom, which Loki rejects. And after consulting Mobius and Sylvie at different moments in time, Loki replaces Victor Timely in approaching the Loom, and Loki destroys the Loom, magically revives the dying timelines, and rearranges them into a tree-like structure, committing himself to oversee the branches alone at the end of time. Loki
finally gets his throne.
Loki, god of stories. We're going to get into that.
So, do we want to unpack the tree of it now, or do we want to unpack that in a hot minute?
I'm cool unpacking it.
Okay, so if I remember this correctly, the kind of tree shape of the timeline of all the timelines together now is based on Norse mythology.
Mm-hmm.
It's me trying to pronounce these things. Yggdrasil,
I think.
I don't know, man.
It's Yggdrasil.
Yeah. So and anyone who really understands Norse, just like help us out here, please. I'm begging you.
If we have any Nordic listeners, if anybody from Asgard is listening,
but it's basically everything exists around it.
It translates to the world tree.
Yes. And so when you take into account what Loki's kind of done here, makes sense. It's a nice. And now I was talking about this with a friend about how, shout out Benson and Moorhead, who are involved in the best episodes of this show, by the way.
Benson Moorhead, if you want to come on the podcast, open invite.
Yes, we can just talk about VHS instead of this if you want. Cheers. But where was I going with this? This is Loki's a show that kind of proves that if you have people who have a strong creative vision and are like well versed in kind of sci-fi and horror filmmaking, like Benson and Moorhead, they can make magic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they've kind of done with Loki, because even though we can kind of speculate like, oh, how much was Marvel involved in getting that in bringing in the Norse mythology and stuff, fundamentally I think the way they set up that entire sequence to get to the tree, I think was great.
And the crazy part about this too, I was reading some stuff about Loki, and I saw New Rockstars talk about it as well. Apparently, episode 5 of this show was supposed to be something completely different than we saw last week. and the higher-ups, including Kevin Feige, when it was pitched, said, this is way too wacky, absolutely not. And a lot of people went to Benson and Moorhead and said, we're so sorry, this was our favorite episode of the series. So who knows what that is? Maybe we'll find out at some point. Maybe we can speculate at some point what it was going to be when we get a little more just detail on Loki season 2 as a whole, but very interesting there. Yeah, I mean, the World Tree and Loki God of Stories, which is Loki's new role and title in the MCU, he's basically overseeing the multiverse. He rewrites the multiverse and forms the tree into an endless tree of branching timelines. I mean, it finally paid off the life tree and the world tree mentioned in Thor 1. When Thor tells Jane Foster that the world tree is what holds together the cosmos, and finally get that payoff all the way back in 2011. I thought the transformation of Loki into his new suit and into his new garb was awesome. Because I was watching, I was like, holy shit, this is comic accurate, which has been a mainstay for just costuming since the end of the Infinity Saga, which I appreciate a ton. And I think with everything, rather than the World Tree holding the realms of the cosmos together in the MCU, Loki rewrote this story by placing the World Tree as central to the multiverse. And now the World Tree is vital to the expansion of the multiverse, with Loki at its center, holding together the branches of the expanding timelines. And rather than simply being vital to the infrastructure of the cosmos, as Thor once thought, this Loki finale has completely rewritten this tease and paid off a 12-year-old Easter egg by reshaping the World Tree into the multiverse's entire structure going forward.
And again, is it safe to say that Loki's maybe the most beloved MCU character?
100%.
Taking Tony out.
I even think in some instances Loki has got more of a stan culture behind him. Like, Loki is so beloved. Like, you look at any, and I'm even looking at this as just like a real world perspective, like any Loki memorabilia, collectibles, they automatically are sold out instantly. All of them on the resale market are wildly overpriced. You guys know I love Venom. You see my Venom pops behind me every episode. I crave one day to own the Venomized Loki pop. But Christian, I can't get it because it was a Target exclusive, and on the resale websites, the cheapest one I can ever find is $70, and I'm not spending $70 on a Funko Pop. I just can't justify that.
If only you could expense it.
I mean, I could.
But it gets you nowhere.
Right. But back to the Loki transformation scene, I thought it was really well done. I thought the sequence as a whole was really, really cool. And, to have Loki, God of Stories, in the MCU now, I think is pretty significant moving forward and gives the MCU, multiverse saga, some stability at the core.
So you're saying we say that, and when we talk about the Marvels, we will kind of have what happened at the end of that, we can kind of talk about where things are going, but we still kind of have no idea where things are going. Because this doesn't necessarily provide an answer to Kang,
which I think.
Which is both them covering their ass and them. It was
intentional to a degree.
Yes, but the fact is they still have a movie slated called Kang Dynasty, and I'm just like, what are we doing here? We're really about to get through 2 phases of like when does phase what is this 5? Phase 5?
We are currently in phase 5. Yes.
Phase 5 ends with what? Again, it ends with Deadpool.
I will let you know right here because I was actually just looking at this tonight after I left the movie theater. Phase 5 ends movie-wise with, as of right now, Captain America: Brave New World.
Okay, so first let's. We should be saving this for news and notes, but I just have to touch on this now.
No, I think it's important to
because of the strikes and everything. Deadpool, which was supposed to be in May or was like March, then got moved to May and is now in July of next year, is the only MCU film. So you're convincing me we are dragging this out an entire year. Well, no, like dragging this out a year and a half with one MCU movie in this phase, and then you're just going to machine gun 2 movies after that in 5 months for 5-6 months. It's starting to reach the and now this is Disney self-induced problems because of strike, but the MCU is really dragging its heels, and now it's about to run into the problem when they're ending phase 5 as James Gunn's saying "Giddy up, let's go," and I'm like, I don't know if they have time to catch the plot anymore with only one movie coming out next year.
Yeah, like the confirmed things that we know for phase 5 still are
Echo and
the Marvels. We have Deadpool, Echo coming out in January. It was confirmed. We'll talk about this too in news and notes, but it was confirmed that What If Season 2 is coming this holiday season.
Yeah, but that's not exactly canon.
It is.
It is, but it isn't.
The other 2 projects that were
Agatha? Was that phase 5 or phase 6?
I don't know when that's coming out per se.
Yeah,
I know it's confirmed, obviously, but I don't know if it has a full-on release date.
Like, okay, I need to pull up the phase 5 thing. So, Ironheart, lol. Daredevil, lol. Thunderbolts, lol. Agatha, lol. Captain America: New World Order, which is entering 6 months of reshoots, lol. And Blade, lol. So, literally, the entire back half of phase 5 is fucked. The entire back half of this phase is now getting stretched out over 2.5-3 years. Is this not a problem? Is this not a fucking problem?
Darkhold Diaries is late 2024, so that is phase 5.
Yeah, like I would just like to point out how Agatha was originally dated winter 2023, 2024. Daredevil was dated spring 2024. They are rewriting that entire thing,
which we're okay with.
Yes, sure, fine. Blade was supposed to come out 7 days ago.
Yep.
Captain America: New World Order was on May 3rd. Thunderbolts was July 25th of next year. They've punted this shit a year plus down the road, and it's just Deadpool. And again, we're going to unpack this with the end of the Marvels. I don't think to quote a famous internet meme, I don't think you have the facilities for this big man. Like I don't think, like, I think this is we've entered the rapidly running out of steam phase. because they're now going to try and sustain us for the entirety of 2024. Sustain the MCU on Echo, Agatha, and Deadpool. And maybe Daredevil if they somehow get their shit
And
together.
not saying that...
Maybe Ironheart, though who knows what's even going on with that anymore.
There's also 2 other confirmed 2024 projects. They're both animated. One of them's confirmed TVMA, which is exciting. Marvel Zombies is slated for 2024. And then the Spider-Man freshman year show is also 2024.
But here's my biggest thing with those. As much as I appreciate them creativity in the larger scale of the Marvel brand, is it canon?
Marvel Zombies is canon. I don't know about Spider-Man freshman year.
Can it be canon if it's not Tom Holland voicing it though?
The one thing I forget, because I mean it was announced 2021, D23,
2022.
One of those, but I forget if they said it was like alternate, like timeline Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's as much as we're talking about how Loki's setting this up, I think it's going to quickly lose momentum because of how little is just going to be going on over the next
Spider-Man
year.
Freshman year is set in an alternate reality from the main MCU continuity in which Norman Osborn is Peter Parker's mentor instead of Tony Stark. But Charlie Cox is voicing Daredevil in the show, and then
if it literally feels like Charlie Cox is just a cameo machine until we get Daredevil. Like it's this thing is floundering so unbelievably hard.
And then Doctor Strange is also in Spider-Man freshman year.
Congrats, I guess. Like I just fundamentally feel like so they're going to sustain us on 2 animated shows, 2 primary canon live action shows, and 1 movie. And that's going to push this multiverse saga far enough over a year and a half, and then maybe you get Daredevil back on track. Like I don't know how they don't get absolutely. I don't get how they end up surviving 2024 without just blowing any steam they had coming out of Loki. Like, think, like, what is there to sustain this?
We have 2 Sony Spider-Man movies too.
Kraven the Hunter, Kraven the Hunter, really? Are we sure that's going to sustain it given how Morbius performed?
Is Venom 3 2024?
I think they're still shooting Venom 3.
Bumped to 2025.
Yeah,
I forget.
Venom 3 pushes release date to November 2024. Again, a year. Like, they are having to sustain some level of this for a year to even get to 2025 when they're actually going to have movies coming out in May. And then Gunn starts up in July. It's like we are headed for, in basically a year and a half's time, we are heading for the superhero breaking point. Well, we're really heading for the MCU's breaking point. And as good as what Loki has done, I don't think that the MCU can hold this if Gunn even remotely hits with that Superman film, and then all this work is just going to go down the drain.
I don't know if I'm at that point yet, because I'm also looking at it from a perspective of when things were going in the MCU, we'd get 1 to 2 movies a year as this thing was building. Like, think back to
But those
2016.
those movies were actually good though.
I'm just saying, in turn, like, we talk about a ton on this show how more is not necessarily good. And then we say that for every streaming platform. We say that for every movie. Like, more is not necessarily good.
And yet they're making 4 TV shows.
Which 3 of the animated ones have been in the bank since 2022. Because they knew the writer's strike was happening and they saved them. But, I mean, you look at Phase 3 even, which, 2016 didn't have a movie until May 6th, which was Captain America Civil War, and the last Marvel movie before that was July 17th, 2015. And then the next movie was Doctor Strange in November of 2016.
Yes, but the difference was, at that point, they had teased Thanos and stuff. We kind of had an idea where we were heading. And yes, the thing is, here we know we're headed towards Secret Wars. But that's all we know. It's like we have this thing. We have this sun. We are revolving around. But we have no functional clue how we even get A to Z. Whereas I feel like, at least with the Infinity Saga, like, especially with how they utilized the post-credit scenes and stuff, we had an idea. But here we're about to clock through 2 phases, and what was the last movie of Phase 2?
Phase 2 was the first Ant-Man.
Okay. Pulling up a list of the post-credit scenes. Phase 2, it was Wasp and Bucky. So the Age of Ultron saw Thanos get the gauntlet. Have we gotten anything even remotely like that at this point? And don't say the Council of Kings, because that may be null and void.
And I think that's part of
The problem.
The problem is you banked on this actor being your guy, and he fucked up off screen, allegedly, and now it's thrown an entire wrench in the direction of where you initially thought you were going to move forward to.
But here's my biggest issue then. Throwing the Council of Kings there just felt like a throw-in in that movie. Like, I was shocked when they actually did it, because it fell early. And I get how it kind of makes sense inside of the film, inside of what happens, but they blew that load so early, and it's like, okay, are we ever getting Ramatut? Like, where is Ramatut going to show up in Captain America: New World Order? Where is Silver Centurion going to show up in? Like, are we really waiting till Fantastic Four and that becomes a time traveling multiversal hopping thing of them chasing Kang variants? And then, like, huh? Like, it's, I don't see how we're getting X to Y to Z. Like I get how we're setting up for Secret Wars, but I don't get the point of what we're doing with Kang. That's the biggest issue here. The end of this thing is not even a Kang thing. This end of the end of the Multiverse Saga is a reset event in which Kang doesn't exactly matter. And so I'm staring at this, and I'm
not exactly
Kang Dynasty. Ooh wee, but like it's.
Well, no, I'm saying he matters in a sense of one of his variants, who the Marvels kind of helps set up, is a big piece in the reset.
I'm just saying that we are staring at Secret Wars. We're staring at King Dynasty. We were shown the Council of Kings, and we look at the slate and we go, I don't know. Because, spoiler alert, we don't even have a Fantastic Four or X-Men cast or even date on those films yet.
Sure we do. It's the Always Sunny cast. Come on. You didn't you didn't see Disbussing film?
I saw that post and I had to quickly check the ad for a second because I was like, wait a minute. Okay, yes, this is just a full bait tweet. Okay, splendid.
And that all came from a quote because I don't even know if this quote was accurate or not. The showrunner said that he was taking things that he learned from working on It's Always Sunny for the Fantastic Four.
Listen, all I have to say is that, and I'm not going to keep talking so because we should just wrap up our thoughts on this. But they need to figure this out quick. And the problem is we're getting a boots on the ground show in Echo, which doesn't help with the Multiverse Saga. Spoiler alert. We're then getting what's next chronologically, Deadpool or Agatha?
Deadpool, because I looked at Agatha's late 2024.
Okay, so then we get Deadpool, which kind of will end up setting stuff up. And then we get Agatha, which neither of us know what that show's going to be, man.
It's a hell of a cast. That's what we know.
Yeah, that's about all we know. And the issue there is Secret Invasion had a hell of a cast, I'll tell you that much.
And I'll tell you this before we even get into the Marvels helps you forget that Secret Invasion even happened.
Buddy.
That's how well done that movie was. It made me forget Secret Invasion was even a thing.
I just think we're kind of in a space where Marvel tries to do this boots on the ground stuff with Secret Invasion and Echo and Hawkeye, which Hawkeye's honestly more of a let's jam Kate Bishop in here, and we'll talk about that when it comes to the Marvels. But it's doing the boots on the ground, and it's doing the multiversal, and it's doing these character introductions, and I'm like you were like it. These first two phases has just been pure, like the vast majority of stuff has just been pure Secret Wars fodder.
To an extent, yeah.
I mean, just think about Phase 4 alone.
I try not to.
Yeah, same, but
outside of maybe 3 movies.
3?
Shang-Chi, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and Spider-Man.
See, I'm not going to unpack my feeling on 2 of those 3. So we'll save that for a different day. But this has been sloppy. They need to figure this out. It's unclear if they're actually
4 because Doctor Strange.
Make that three of those 4 movies I need to share thoughts on. but I've shared my Multiverse of Madness thoughts immensely, which I'm going to once again bring them up when we talk about a certain rating news in streaming news and notes. Anyway, but it's Marvel. Please get your shit together. Because I hate being Mr. Negative on this podcast. I want you to be successful in making artful superhero films and telling a good, broad, multi-thing story. You're not doing it right now, and I hate to see it, but yeah.
I will say, I think how Loki ends, and to wrap up here with the breakdown, the TVA accepts the growing branches and now tracks He Who Remains variants. Very important shit right there. with Mobius reporting one variant being stopped at Earth 616's adjacent realm. What that means?
I think that's Ant-Man, right?
Yeah, it's referring to the Kang we saw in Quantumania.
Yeah, I was trying to read the file, but the resolution wasn't good enough on my computer.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man.
B-15 becomes one of the TVA's leaders. OB reactivates a now friendly Miss Minutes and writes a new TVA handbook with Victor Timely as the co-author. In one timeline, Victor Timely does not receive the TVA handbook in 1863. I think that's very fucking important. Renslayer awakens in the void and sees Eliath. Haha, you dumb bitch, you got. Mobius retires from the TVA as he and Sylvie observe Don and Don's children. Here's why I think the one moment where Victor Timely doesn't get the TVA handbook is important, Christian, because to me, that says that is potential to set up Nathaniel Richards, aka Reed Richards' ancestor, not ancestor, but future, relative, that is a Kang variant, realizes he's a Kang variant, and is part of the Young Avengers that helps undo Kang's dynasty. That was an important little drop. I could be wrong there. That's what I took away from it, though. I could be wrong. I'm saying that now. I could be wrong, everybody. I could be wrong. But that's what I picked up with, as he's the one that didn't get it, and Nathaniel Richards is the one Kang variant that doesn't want to be a Kang and goes full send to reverse everything.
He could be wrong, everyone. So in other words, find him on Twitter, yell at him now, so when 15 years down the line, when the Multiverse saga finally wraps up,
hopefully I'm not dead,
Kyle can then dig up the tweets and be, look at me, I finally proved you all wrong.
When I'm 45, Jesus Christ.
It's the end of the world as we know it.
And I don't feel fine. I thought this was a great episode of TV. Loki just almost never misses. It had a couple blips on the radar there, all pun intended with the word blip, but I thought this was a great finale, a great bookend to 2 seasons of Loki. Fucking Loki, God of Stories, is an unreal pull by the MCU, and Loki finally gets his throne, and a 12-year Easter egg gets paid off. And I don't think this is the last we see of Tom Hiddleston as Loki, for a number of reasons.
Just like Multiverse of Madness was not the last of Wanda.
Correct. We're going to see Loki again. He's controlling the fucking timeline. He's controlling the multiverse. He's going to be a main player forever. So, Christian, your score, final thoughts for this episode, and then your overall score for Loki Season 2.
So, you called this a great episode of television. As someone who watched Succession, I think we maybe have a little different standards of great episodes of television.
Mr. Smarty Pants.
This was a great episode of MCU television. Yes. And so I will fundamentally say that this was on a non-MCU sliding scale. I give it a 7.5. And overall, I think I give the series a 7, just because I feel like the stuff in the middle kind of weighed it down. And while it started good and while it ended good, we're still kind of grasping at, okay, so where are we going with this fully? And this may be a show we go back to in a few years' time and have different feelings about to a certain degree. But I feel like as of now, there's still too many unknowns in this situation.
I really like this episode. I'm going to give it an 8.6, just for all the pulls, the payoff, and ultimately just like the way I ended up viewing this season as a whole is kind of being just like the second chapter of a full book. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. The Groundhog Day tropes were great. And I think it was just a perfect ending to this season and potentially this series. Who knows? So I'm going to give it an 8.6, and you gave the episode what score again?
7.5.
So the quick math there makes it an 8.1 out of 10 for episode 6. You gave the series a 7 out of 10. I'm going to go a little bit higher on the scale there. I think season 2 is going to get an 8.5 from me. I think they did a lot of cool things with this season. It tied in well to piece together season 1 and 2. And I think Loki is just one of those characters that the MCU needs to continue to use, because the storytelling you can do with Loki is damn near infinite. And I thought this season contrasted season 1 in a way that makes them both unique, but they fit together so well. So I really enjoyed it. I'm going to give it an 8.5. Christian gives it a 7 flat, which, doing the quick math on that one, for our series score between the two of us, gives it a 7.8 out of 10, which is now official in the book. Oddly enough, it is the second lowest score of the year for us in terms of a show. It is tied with Glass Onion, because we gave Glass Onion and Loki Season 2 the same scores, respectively. Movie scale, different from show scale, though. So, yeah, 7.8. I still think that's a good score for this show. And like Christian said, like, we reserve the right to change the scores if need be in the future. And there could be future payoffs with this show, which I would be shocked if there aren't. So there it is, Loki Season 2, Episode 6. Let us know your thoughts on this episode and the series as a whole in the YouTube comments section. Let's move it right along, Christian. The SAG-AFTRA strike has ended. The actors are back. They have come to an agreement on a tentative 3-year contract with the studios. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
Dun, dun, dun. Cue the Mace music.
It is so nice that this is finally over. I am pulling up the overall agreements here. So, SAG-AFTRA has secured informed consent and fair compensation required for the creation and use of digital replicas for performers and background actors. For an employment-based digital replica, actors will be paid the equivalent to the payment if they did the work themselves. The contract assures background actors are actually hired and not replaced by AI, adding that no digital replica can be used to evade payment of a background actor. That is the huge part from the AI side of things. 7% raise in most minimums. A new $40 million participation bonus for performers who work on streaming shows that reach a certain benchmark of success. More than $1 billion in new wages and benefit plan funding. Guardrails against the use of AI. Those are the main hitting points there. And we had our first appearances of MCU actors on late night TV on tonight as we're recording this. Brie Larson and Tom Hiddleston will be on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon to promote Loki and the Marvels.
My favorite joke about that was Kevin Feige came into the rooms in the middle of the night yelling, "All right, motherfuckers, time to get up."
It's like the scared straight video meme of the
Yeah.
kid getting woken up in the jail cell. Good to see the studios finally fucking giving these actors what they deserve.
It only costs some of them their like entire 2024 movie slate. It's fine.
Oh, no big deal. We're fine. It's fine.
We're fine. Though I'm weirdly, it's like somehow hurt Warner Brothers the least, just because of some of the stuff they pushed. But even then, we'll talk about stuff they. Yeah.
I'm angry. But yeah,
We angry.
shout
world's
out to
angry.
the actors and the writers for getting what they deserve. We were obviously in solidarity with them throughout the entire strike. And now that it's over, we are allowed to have guests on the show once again. So like we mentioned at the top of the show, if there's any actor, writer, producer, etc. that you'd want to see on the show, no matter how big or small, let us know in the YouTube comment section, and we will try our damnedest to get them on the show. Moving right along.
Anyway.
But before we get into it, this segment, our Marvel's Breakdowns, brought to you by our pals over at Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. Tomahawk Shades been rocking with us for years now, and you got to protect your eyes when you're watching your favorite shows and movies, and that's where their Blue Light Plus technology is the best. Protect your eyes. Get your Blue Light Plus glasses. Get your sunglasses. Download the Tomahawk Shades app in the App Store or Google Play, or go to tomahawkshades.com. And when you go to checkout, use promo code USP for 25% off your order. I'm telling you guys, the blue light glasses are a savior. It helps me sleep better because my eyes are less strained. Do yourself a favor. Get a pair of Blue Light Plus glasses from Tomahawk Shades and thank me when you get them. And use code USP for 25% off your order. The Marvels is here. A highly divisive movie because people are fucking sexist, which is just dumb, and anytime they see Brie Larson in a Marvel movie, they just scour to the comments like a bunch of keyboard warriors.
I would just like to say that as someone who does enjoy female-led films, I just had no interest in this film, partially because of Marvel fatigue, and also just because, like, it just looked like a DisneyPlus show that just like it was just like a team up, and the visuals didn't look all that great, and the villain didn't motivate me that much. So I'm just throwing that out there.
I am fresh off of seeing. I saw it tonight. My non-spoiler checklist here for everybody before I let Christian drop the spoiler warning alert. Iman Vellani is amazing. I love her. Would love to have her on this show. She is the star of this movie, hands down. Her character development and just her progression in this movie in terms of just moving the story along was great. She's likable. You can connect with her. You can tell how much she cares about this role because she's a fucking Marvel nerd like everybody is. And like you can just tell the attention to detail that she puts into her character. I loved her performance in this. She's very funny, and it makes you appreciate her performance in Miss Marvel a lot more too. I thought the runtime going into it, I was scared. We talked about this on the show too. It was an hour and 45-minute runtime, and I was nervous about that. Shortest MCU movie ever. Quite honestly, Christian, the pacing of this movie was better than some of the MCU movies we've gotten recently that were longer runtimes, and I was shocked by that fact.
I don't think that surprises me, just because even from the trailer, it does seem like a rather straightforward A, B, C, D type movie. So I think that helped it. But also, it is very much like kind of it in its own way. Its story is like mostly self-contained and not that tied to many other things. So
To a degree, yeah.
Yeah. So to a degree, it can function more as its own entity rather than like Multiverse of Madness being a slave to the first Doctor Strange film and to WandaVision and to this and to that. So
and granted, I haven't seen the original Captain Marvel movie in a while. I genuinely enjoyed this movie more than I think I enjoyed Captain Marvel, which says a lot. And I think what you said about the villain, I was nervous about it too. And it doesn't have a lot of intrigue because it's just like a deep cut kind of villain situation. But when you watch the movie, the use of that villain makes a lot of sense in the grand scheme of moving the film along and what it does for the payoff in the mid-credit scene. Was I disappointed that like there wasn't a lot of like character development and build up because it was a lot of the villain doing a bunch of stuff that didn't ultimately pay off for anything? Sure. But a better villain utilization than some of the villains we've gotten recently in some of the Marvel shows and movies. And I think some of the things I was just disappointed with, and you could kind of tell, was the way that Marvel has used Brie Larson as Captain Marvel is disappointing. Because, like, Captain Marvel's supposed to be a fucking badass character, and Eric Voss put it this way, like, how Captain America says, I can do this all day. Captain Marvel's supposed to be like that and, like, give you the double bird and say, fuck you, and, like, gets knocked down, gets back up again, and punches you in the face. And, like, Brie Larson being joggled around and not knowing what scenes she's shooting projects for and being, like everything being a total secret to her is disheartening. And her not getting, like, a full-fledged, just, like, overall utilization of her talents for this character is a bummer. But then
no, go ahead.
But I also think, like, she's very fun in her interactions with a lot of the characters in this movie, which is why I think I enjoyed her performance a lot more in this one than I did in the original Captain Marvel.
So what I was gonna say is, I don't know if she's like that type of Captain America attitude fully in her. Like she's I'm trying to figure out how I want to phrase this. Like, what's the first movie you think of her for when you think of Brie Larson outside the MCU?
Great question.
Because there's an easy answer for me, and this is a show that Kyle, I'm mandating we talk about because it comes out in, like, I don't know, a week. It's Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which was basically her breakout film. She shows up for like 4 scenes, is electric, sings an amazing cover of Black Sheep, which people are still obsessed over to this day. And that leads to 21 Jump Street, Short Term 12, The Spectacular Now, her Oscar-winning role in The Room, in Trainwreck, Kong, Skull Island. And then she gets Captain Marvel. And really, if you look at her since, so starting with Captain Marvel in 2019, Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, just Just Mercy, which was the legal drama directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, the same guy who did Short Term 12, which, sure. Between Two Ferns, which is a comedy thing directed by Scott Ackerman with Zach Galifianakis, which is like based on his web series thing. Did a short film, did Shang-Chi, did Fast X, did The Marvels. She's just been in the MCU headlock for 5 years, and I just fundamentally think that she was done with it. Like, she is a much better actor than what she was given to do in the MCU. I think we can both agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't think she fundamentally, looking back on it, was built for the MCU like some of these other people are. Like I fundamentally think, like, as much as I decry how he tries to talk about film in real life, Simu Liu feels like an MCU guy.
Mm-hmm.
Scarlett Johansson in her Black Widow role felt like an MCU person, but she could also do the like serious drama type thing,
Mm-hmm.
which she still does to this day. Which, ScarJo, you a beast. So it's just like I feel like Brie was mismanaged by the MCU, but I also feel like she wasn't perfect for the MCU at the same time. And I feel like that kind of confluenced with the online community will put it that way, in kind of like this toxic situation, which I thought this was supposed to be her last Marvel film, and yet we kind of still get her at the end there. And I'm just like, are we really just going to kind of like, is this how we're going to end Brie Larson? Are we sure about that? Like it didn't feel right, but also she may just not pop her head in until Secret Wars again. So fuck if we know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My other disappointment was just, it felt like a lack of connection just as a whole because of when her character was introduced, which I loved. Tiana Paris just didn't feel like she connected with Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan. Really, there wasn't really much interaction there per se. And then the conflict that she has with Captain Marvel, which we finally get the fucking answer to that after a couple of years, was kind of like just like done as soon as they like talk about it. So that was disappointing. But her ultimate, payoff, which we'll get to post spoiler warning, is going to be fucking great. I thought the pacing of this movie was really, really good. Like I said, for the runtime that it was, and this movie totally made me forget that Secret Invasion happened because Samuel L. Jackson was awesome in this movie. There was Skrulls, and a very important Skrull in this movie that was way better utilization of them than it was in Secret Invasion. Weird. And I think this movie, oddly enough, helped like give a taste of where the MCU is catapulting towards, which a lot of people were down on this movie, and I understand why from a perspective of Marvel fatigue. You have the weirdos who are just going to complain about a female-led movie to begin with. Get a grip, grow up, get out of your parents' basement. And then I think the runtime definitely scared a lot of people. And, it's not like Phase 5 has delivered in any semblance of a way outside of Guardians 3. So you can understand the not immediate need to want to see this movie. I do find it very funny, though, that this movie set up a huge portion of what's to come in the MCU.
Like, here's speaking of things not being anticipated. This made less in preview showings than The Flash. That's a bad sign, guys. I'm just gonna say that's a bad sign, and I'll also say this: today was teachers' convention in New Jersey, right? Right, Kyle. I was working the opening shift at my theater. We opened at like noon. Across 2 showings at the Marvels, we had like 40 something people. We had the same number of people for a single showing of the Holdovers. That's bad. That's bad for the first day of an MCU film with a teacher in service. So kids could come all day. That's moderately concerning.
I do think this movie will benefit from word of mouth. Not to a full send degree, but I think it'll get more people to go see it because of what we'll talk about. This is not the worst MCU movie ever. I'll tell you that much.
No.
I think it's the second best Phase 5 film we've gotten. Guardians 3 obviously being number 1. I enjoyed this movie more than Quantumania.
I mean, that kind of makes sense because I do just think Quantumania was just a mess.
I think this movie blows Thor: Love and Thunder out of the water.
So, full disclosure, I've only maybe seen like a third of this film. But even then, Christian Bale's just a million times more interesting than anything this film has to offer for me.
I think he's a better villain than the villain in this movie, but just the overall product of the movies as a whole.
I think the motivation and utilization of the villain is better in Captain Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
I just fundamentally feel like as a villain, it's not motivating enough to get you to see it. Like, Bale as Gore should have been a bigger thing. And he got like maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes of proper screen time in that movie, which he cooked, by the way. Bale is stupendous in that film, and he got little to do. But yeah.
I think this movie's better than Black Widow for a number of reasons, and I've said it time and time again. Black Widow came 5 years too late.
And people will probably know this. I literally think Black Widow is like a bottom 2 MCU movie.
This movie in aspects is better than Eternals. I enjoyed Eternals. I forget how you. Okay. I think Eternals has really good points. It's just Eternals kind of feels like its own standalone movie at this point, where like there's been no reference to it.
Eternals is kind of like Eternals is kind of like what if, except the only thing tying it to the MCU is Mr. Off-Screen Blade.
And I'm like, I think it's fair to call Eternals "What now?" ... because
I like that. I like that.
There's a giant space alien synthezoid bursting out of the Indian Ocean, and nobody has made reference of it except a little computer tabloid screen on She-Hulk, and that's it. But I think there's aspects of the Marvels that are better than Eternals. This is 100% better than Thor: The Dark World because that movie just stinks. And I was like sifting through some of the other movies from early on. I think, you know, we're finally getting payoff from it because now it's been canonized. I think it's a little more enjoyable than the original Incredible Hulk movie.
You don't say.
But I think too, from a TV aspect, it's better than Secret Invasion. It's better than a lot of the TV shows we've gotten on DisneyPlus as well, to just compare like franchise to franchise. So I think that says a lot for a movie that was like highly like thumbs down upon going into it. It's better than a lot of the projects we've gotten recently.
Yeah.
Christian, I'm going to let you unleash spoiler warning volume 2 of this episode.
Are we talking about the mid-credit scene?
Oh, we're going to talk about the end scene and the mid-credit scene.
Okay. So Young Avengers and all roads lead to Deadpool. Go cook, Kyle.
This is the spoiler warning after the spoiler.
Oh, whoops. Whoops. I thought you were just saying that this is another spoiler warning and not expecting me to give another spoiler warning.
That's incredible. So yeah, let's start with Young Avengers. Brilliant job by whoever wrote in Kamala Khan to pull a Nick Fury. When I saw a slice, please, that was great. Great execution. Great callbacks to 2008. When I saw the slice of pizza fly in the air and Lucky the pizza dog came on my movie theater screen, I jumped back in my chair and I was like, there's no fucking way this is happening right now. And then we see Kate Bishop, Haley Steinfeld, the love interest of one Josh Allen, the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. I told my coworker that today. He was like, you're lying. I was like, no, they date. He was like, that's fucking crazy. Haley Steinfeld on the screen for the first time since Hawkeye. In her purple garb that she wore at the end of that show. And then we've got Kamala Khan in the shadows pulling her best Nick Fury impression, saying that she's
hat and all,
which I think was also kind of a nod and a little like poke you jab to Kevin Feige, because Kamala Khan, the actress Iman Vellani, has a great relationship with Kevin Feige and is not afraid to go toe to toe with him and question some of the things that he does, and I love that about her. The Nick Fury callback was great. She goes, I'm assembling a young team, and Kate Bishop saying, I'm 23. I know, I've got intel.
Young.
We finally get an inkling to what has been kind of below the surface of the surface building towards of Young Avengers.
It's been
get our first recruit, Kate Bishop. Bang. We get a mention. Did you know Ant-Man has a daughter? Boom. Cassie Lang, welcome to the Young Avengers.
What's his name's grandson?
Yes. Eli Bradley is 100% because Patriot is in the Young Avengers. Wanda's son, Billy, is 100% going to be in the Young Avengers.
Are they real?
Because Billy is cast for Agatha Darkhold Diaries as well.
But is it a real Billy though?
Wanna
Wait, Kyle. Are they gonna make Billy a real boy?
I'm a real boy.
Okay. Anyway, you gotta continue.
We finally have semblance of a fucking team up in the MCU with characters that have been getting dropped into these projects, and it's like, oh, maybe that's so-and-so. Maybe they're going to use them. We don't know yet, though, and now we're finally getting it. We have talked about this for months and months and months. Everything that Phase 4 was missing was a team-up event. Everything we've been missing in Phase 5 has been a team-up event. And the Young Avengers are finally getting formed. I'm so thrilled.
But Kyle, the Marvels is a team-up event.
To an extent. But we're finally getting a full-on team assembly led by Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, just like the fucking comics, because any team up she's in, she's the fucking boss lady. And this was like, okay, this was Marvel to its core. We're finally like putting the team together. And here's why you should be excited about Young Avengers, everybody. Because I have read Young Avengers comics and spin-offs of the Young Avengers, like the Champions that Miss Marvel is a part of. Also that's 100% going to be confirmed for fucking Young Avengers is Hulk's son. Gotta be in there.
Do we need to unpack that? How it was just thrown in there? I don't want to go back to She-Hulk to unpack how that's just kind of dropped in there, and we're like, wait, what the fuck? And
Hulk fucks.
They give it 5 fucking seconds and move on like nothing happened. I'm like, pardon? Excuse me?
That's great.
Anyway,
here's why you should be excited, and why I think it's a good thing that we're getting these street level shows like an Echo coming to the MCU. We're gonna have the fucking multiverse saga going on, and the cosmos and space and everything happening. Just because all that's happening doesn't mean street level shit isn't happening. And I think that's another thing that the MCU has kind of mismanaged in terms of balance. We've kind of left the street level alone, which early on in the MCU and building towards what we got in Infinity War and Endgame, we got some street level shit. We got some stuff on the ground that wasn't necessarily all this, magic and cosmos and outer space. Shit's happening on the streets. And I think to have your big Avengers team doing everything up in outer space and away from Earth, you need somebody protecting the Earth. And that's the youth. We got the youths out here, the youths of America, protecting the street levels. And there's heroes on the street level that can help mentor the Young Avengers as well. Most notably, who's coming into the fold, Christian? One Daredevil. I think to have the Young Avengers in the mix is huge. Will it be a movie? Will it be a show? Who knows? I think it would work as a show because it can be an ongoing thing. I think it can be an ongoing thing where you can have as many seasons as you want, and we know Marvel is transitioning to finally fucking doing that. I think that would be a smart approach to the Young Avengers, to then go to what we've talked about on this show. Dylan and I have talked about it as well. Thunderbolts versus Young Avengers in that movie would be awesome because it's both street level entities, because most of the Thunderbolts are super soldiers to begin with. I think this was a great portion of this movie in terms of progression, where we can go from here. The Young Avengers are here, and I am stoked, baby.
And then all roads lead to Deadpool.
And then we get a mid-credit scene. Monica Rambeau, not dead, after she helps close what I am going to call the adjacent. The hexes being broken open there were to, spoiler, the Fox universe, as Doctor Strange's ripples in the sky were to the Sony universe. Monica Rambeau wakes up in a white room, and then we get Mama Rambeau, or did we? Right next to her, Monica just losing her mom, I'm so sorry, and she's like, Mom. She's like, who the fuck is that guy? And then
his big hairy ass.
That
Kelsey
big
Grammer,
hairy
come on down.
CGI blue ass Kelsey Grammer. Let's fucking go. We get Beast. I lost my shit in the movie theater seeing him. Our whole theater lost their shit. I was not expecting to see any semblance of the Fox X-Men on a screen in this movie. Yet here we are. Beast gets introduced.
And we get a mention of Charles.
We get a mention of Charles. We had a door with a big old X on it. And we got themes from 2 of the original run of X-Men movies in the Fox continuity in terms of music being played. And we get an alternate universe version of Maria Rambeau known as Binary, which another was not expecting. Binary is a relatively new character in the Marvel Comics, was introduced in 2021, where Binary is basically a duplicate of Captain Marvel being Maria Rambeau, and I think that was super cool to introduce because it shows that this universe, wherever they may be, which it is clearly not Earth 838 that we got in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, because Maria Rambeau is Captain Marvel in that universe, and Charles Xavier is dead in that universe now. R.I.P. that. But whatever universe this is, more than just the X-Men exist. And I think that's really fucking cool. And I think the use of Beast as the reveal of the first, mutant of the past to be revealed is smart. You already got Charles Xavier in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. You know Wolverine is coming in Deadpool. You needed somebody on a science-y level, and Eric Voss talked about this on New Rockstars as well, to kind of be the parallel to Earth 616's Hulk being a scientist. This is this universe, and it just so happens to be Beast. Now, Christian, we talked about this a little bit before we started recording. We both agreed. It's smart to use early, older Beast than it was new Beast for a number of reasons. Number one being...
As much as I want new Beast.
Right. Number one being, you get the nostalgia bait, first and foremost. Number two, this gives you a chance to loop in that early X-Men continuity that Kevin Feige was a part of early on in his career. The first project he ever worked on was the original X-Men movie. And it allows you to utilize that in Deadpool, which we all know is coming. It also gives you a chance to utilize those characters. We all know Deadpool 3 is going to be some iteration of Deadpool kills the Fox X-Men universe. And without using the younger X-Men cast from the newer X-Men movies, this now gives Marvel a chance to recast the X-Men to whoever they want. And I think that's also smart. You're not tied to specific actors. And it gives you a chance to create your new X-Men by using your old characters from the early run of the X-Men movies. What a review. This is the first time in a long time. I think this is the first time since the finale of Loki season 1 my jaw hit the ground with a character reveal in a Marvel project.
I think it was just the first time, like, in a while, we've had a tangibly good scene like this. Because, as I've talked about with friends, it's just like, here's Hercules. When I don't know, but here's Hercules. Mm-hmm. Here's this character. Here's that character. It's like, but why? When are we gonna see him? No clue. Maybe this. But there's not currently another Thor movie scheduled. It's like, okay, this is something tangible. This is something we can predict. It's not confirmed, but we can predict it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it gave you substance of where progression is going, which I think for the first time in a long time, we finally get that with an MCU project. You know, end of Doctor Strange, Clea shows up. You don't know where the fuck Doctor Strange is going when she rips open, space-time continuum to go and do whatever they're going to do in the multiverse. I think Black Panther Wakanda Forever is kind of a different tone for a number of reasons, obviously. Quantumania, we've talked about that time and time again with the post-credit scenes there. Guardians Volume 3, like you get the new Guardians team, which is cool, but it's not like earth-shattering. And I mean, like, everything else, there's been like, where's the payoff? What's next? Where's this going towards? Like, we still don't even know what the payout from the Shang-Chi post-credit scene that involved Captain Marvel and Hulk. And we've seen both of those characters since and still don't know what that was about.
That one's maybe the most baffling one of all of them. Where it's just this mysterious thing about the 10 rings, and then since then, we've seen Hulk. We've
now seen Captain Marvel.
And we've seen Wong in Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
And it's like, rings?
And we saw Wong in She-Hulk.
It's like, huh? Like, what are we doing? Like, what the fuck are we doing here?
What an awesome character drop. I don't know what universe they're in, but I also am excited because for so long everyone's been pondering what is Monica Rambeau's, code name going to be, and they make fun of that in this movie a ton, and Kamala Khan trying to figure out her name because she's Miss Marvel. We have Captain Marvel. She calls her Professor Marvel at one point, and just a whole bunch of funny names and everything.
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
The way I cackled.
and no, but the look Monica gives her.
The way I cackled when that line got dropped was hilarious. But in the comics, Maria Rambeau, Monica Rambeau have two superhero names: Photon, Spectrum. I have long been on the train since WandaVision, all the way back in 2021, been fully on board with Monica Rambeau being Spectrum. We've seen Spectrum news being dropped in a ton. Spectrum gets dropped in conversation in this movie as well. And it just felt like Photon was her mom. Spectrum should be Monica. We're getting an opportunity now for Monica to team up with her mom, obviously as the character Binary, but that's going to be very cool to finally see Monica side by side with her quote-unquote mom fighting, more than likely, wherever this goes, is going to be very, very cool. And it's in a universe where mutants exist. The possibilities are endless for character reveals wherever Monica is. And we have to assume, I think you would agree with me here, Monica Rambeau is going to be in Deadpool 3.
If she isn't, I would be surprised.
I'd be shocked. It was maybe the Ben Affleck and what's her name rumors do turn out to be true. That'd be cool. It was also evident that Beast was CGI and not prosthetic makeup.
It was.
I don't think it looked bad though. We've seen some bad CGI.
There's been worse CGI, but like, I get why, because Kelsey Grammer's how old now, but at the same time, if they're going to do this in Deadpool, just slather him in fucking makeup. I'm begging you.
Kelsey Grammer is 68 years old.
My grandfather's 12 years older. I don't care.
So what you're saying is you would slather your grandpa in makeup and call him Beast.
No, I'm saying he's 12 years younger than my grandfather. So he has no excuse.
I love that reveal. One of the best character reveals we've gotten in a long time. When I first saw that room, I thought it was going to be the room from Multiverse of Madness because it looked like that science lab.
You thought it was gonna be the room where it happens.
I see what you did there. But I'm very happy it wasn't. I'm glad it's a new entity and not a callback to a movie that feels finite. And I'm excited to see where Binary and Monica Rambeau head with the X-Men in full swing. This is now our third mutant in the MCU confirmed that has been on the screen, not including Deadpool and Wolverine, because Kamala Khan confirmed mutant in Miss Marvel. Namor is confirmed a mutant in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And now we have Beast.
Hold on, counter. Couldn't we theoretically say fourth? Quicksilver?
Fair. I'll give it 3.5.
Okay, fair. Fine. Just because he's not necessarily called a mutant in Age of Ultron, but there's the Fox canon, and shrug.
Yeah, we did get Evan Peters.
Yeah,
who I think is the one young X-Men that will be reprising his role. But that's.
I mean, was there even a Quicksilver in the 2000s films?
Don't think so.
Okay, I would just like to say that let's keep this moving because it's 12:35 in the morning.
And the only reason I think Evan Peters will reprise his role is because they had to call Aaron Taylor Johnson Pietro because Fox had the naming rights to Quicksilver. I enjoyed The Marvels. If you have an opportunity to go see it, I recommend seeing it. It's very fun. Is it the best MCU movie ever? No. Is it better than some MCU movies we've gotten recently and previously? Yes. Thoroughly enjoyable. It's not that long of a movie, but it's paced well. Recommend. Check mark. Go see it. Let's get into everybody's favorite segment. It is the streaming platform Multiverse News and Notes, brought to you by our pals over at Kenwood Beer, available in New Jersey. Go to kenwoodbeer.com, use the Kenny Finder to see who's got Kenny's on tap in the Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, New Jersey, and Maryland areas. It's 120 calories, just 8 grams of carbs, 4.1% ABV. Must be 21 or older to do so, and of course, please drink responsibly. We touched on this a little bit in our mid-Loki breakdown tangent, but we have 4 upcoming confirmed rated R/TVMA MCU projects, Christian. It's about goddamn time. Echo, Deadpool 3, Blade, and Marvel Zombies, all rated R/TVMA.
Deep breaths. Why couldn't you just let Raimi cook? Imagine what it could have been if you just let Raimi go full on Raimi and let it be rated R. Imagine how cool that Doctor Strange movie could have been. Because it's already like 1/3 like one third Raimi film and then 2/3 like very just normal MCU film. Imagine if that got to be like 3/4, 1/4. I'm mad. Anyway, moving on.
Imagine if Warner Brothers let James Gunn cook because
it's not necessarily James Gunn cooking as much as James Gunn wrote and produced.
Coyote versus Acme has been thrown in the Warner Brothers vault and will never be released because they are using it as a $30 million tax write-off. It had finished filming, was co-written by James Gunn, starred John Cena, and I am mad because James Gunn and John Cena with Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner would have been fucking epic, and I was very disheartened to see this.
It cost $30 million. It cost $30 million. You are taking you are so worried about your books that you don't think that can make its money back, and you're taking a tax write-off on that? Really?
Boo.
Saz.
The Simpsons producers respond to reports that Homer is no longer strangling Bart. Quote, Homer Simpson was unavailable for comment as he was busy strangling Bart. There's a report earlier this week that, quote unquote, times have changed and Homer would no longer be strangling Bart. The picture used for this post from Variety is also Homer strangling Bart, saying, "Why, you little clickbaiting?" This should have Dylan's fancies tickled quite a bit, and I'm sure it has yours tickled quite a bit. A John Wick anime is in the works.
We got a teaser for Inside Out 2.
Very excited for Maya Hawke's emotion of anxiety.
See. Here's the thing. You can be excited about that, where I can be mad at Disney because they offered Amy Poehler $5 million plus other stuff to come back and voice Joy, right? And they, meanwhile, offered the amazing Bill Hader $100,000 to voice 2 characters. And he correctly said, "Go kick rocks."
Yes. Looking here, reportedly filming in March 2024, Superman Legacy.
Can't wait. Just can't wait. We got a trailer for Mean Girls the musical. Kyle, would you like to speak on it as the resident musical theater man?
I feel like Mean Girls still holds up to this day as a very awesome movie, even though it was made in, 2004?
Only 2004? Surely not.
I want to say it was 2004. I could be wrong.
Yeah, somehow
2004.
it was only 2004.
Why do we need Mean Girls the musical?
Well, no. So here's kind of the thing with that. Tina Fey, who wrote the original one, right, turned it into a Broadway musical, which was a successful musical. So by proxy, they must now turn that back into a movie. Which,
so is this basically like Dear Evan Hansening the Mean Girls musical?
No, because Dear Evan Hansen was not a successful normal movie that then got converted into a musical.
Well, I'm saying from the musical aspect, because it's Mean Girls the musical that's coming out.
I don't quite know because I
like the Dear Evan Hansen musical and then turned it into a movie.
I don't know how.
I gotta say, that movie stinks.
Don't. I have. As soon as the first opening number, I literally went, "Oh no." Oh no.
I watched that with my boss and my choreographer from my theater job. While they were wallowing in tears watching the movie, I was just like, what the fuck is this?
See, here's how you know you're in for a bad thing. They changed the arrangement of waving through the window and the cutting during that. I'm like, oh no.
Ugh.
Because the cutting was so bad, and the fact that they also just didn't include, does anybody have a map? And I'm like, oh no. Like, dear, like, Shabosky, come on, man. You did Perks of Being a Wallflower. This
Shout
should
out
have
my
been
boy
good.
Logan Lerman. Yeah. In streaming tech / business news, we had last week or the week before the news that Disney Plus was acquiring the remainder of Hulu for $8.6 billion. Finally, the news we've been waiting for, because it was rumored for quite some time. Disney Plus and Hulu will officially merge into one app. Full launch will happen by March 2024.
I do not want to see the cost of that. I don't.
This was a foregone conclusion. Hulu, for anybody that doesn't know, is a US only streaming platform, where if you use a VPN or if you live in other countries, Disney Plus has a tab similar to Marvel, Star Wars, was it National Geographic that they have as well, Pixar, and like all the tabs on your Disney Plus screen. There's one that is labeled Star, and that is where a majority of the shows and programming that's on Hulu or on other various streaming platforms like a Netflix in some instances in the US, that is under the Star banner on Disney Plus. So like in the UK, Family Guy, Rick and Morty, American Dad, and shows like that are on Disney Plus under that Star tab. This, I think, is just the USification of that, and Hulu and Disney Plus finally merging now that Disney has acquired the remainder of Hulu from NBC / Peacock. We'll see how it all plays out. I'm intrigued by hopefully not the user interface being destroyed, because I don't know how you feel about it. I think Disney Plus's UI is pretty solid for a streaming platform. Hulu, I've heard from various people, not so much.
I have mixed feelings on Hulu. Some good, some bad.
So hopefully they continue to use Disney Plus's UI and
like my biggest gripe with Disney Plus's one is that they don't really have an individual tab for just normal movies.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you want to find The Sound of Music, you literally have to type in Sound of Music. It's like, like there's little filtering things they could do.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I think it's a very functional UI.
So yeah, let us know how you feel about that in the YouTube comment section. Universal says the Super Mario Bros. Is one of their quote-unquote new franchises. Sounds like a sequel is on the way. And everybody, if you've listened to this podcast in the past, you know I am taking the ultimate victory lap here, because we're getting a Legend of Zelda movie. My tinfoil hat theory, my StreamerSZN theory, years in the making.
Is this the Smash Brothers thing?
Yes, it is, brother.
Okay,
the Super Smash Brothers movie universe is totally happening.
Because I was struggling to, I was struggling, and I just only now in my like half a functioning brain see was actually able to pull back like, oh right, yeah, this was the theory Kyle had, right?
I have been on this hill for years. Dylan has laughed at me, and anytime I bring it up, or he knows I'm bringing it up, he goes, oh God, he's about to go off. Legend of Zelda movie is coming. I'm excited about this just from the aspect of the characters in The Legend of Zelda. This gives us Detective Pikachu. There's your Pikachu character. We've got
Welcome
Mario,
back, Ryan Reynolds,
Luigi, Donkey Kong, Wario, the whole 9 yards from the Mario movie, Princess Peach, and now Legend of Zelda. There's so many characters to dive into in the Super Smash Bros. Universe. Oh, also we have the Sonic franchise. Let's not forget that. I'm stoked about this. I think this has a ton of potential to be really, really good. How do you feel about it? I don't know if you're a Zelda fan or not, Christian, but your thoughts on the Legend of Zelda movie getting the green light.
I've dabbled in the games. I was barely did anything in the games because I just couldn't play it that well. And I'm talking about the old GameCube stuff. I recognize its iconic place in pop culture. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with it. Yeah, like I'm willing to give it a shot. Just like I will continually say, someone needs to make a Life is Strange TV series or movie. Like it's literally sitting there for you as a great thing to adapt.
This was interesting news this week. An NBC Universal intern mistakenly revealed that Shrek 5 releases in 2025.
I mean, we've heard rumblings of Shrek 5, so I mean, it's not that bad. But yeah.
Kevin Feige confirms his Star Wars film is not happening.
How many Star Wars films have we've had more Star Wars films being talked about that didn't / won't happen in the past 2 years than Star Wars films that have happened in the past 10. Which I think is indicative of the state of Star Wars, but that's neither here nor there.
Here's a fun quote that I think will make you laugh if you haven't seen it yet. Jack Nicholson is still refusing movie offers and reportedly would rather, quote, sit under a tree and read a book.
Which does feel like a very Jack quote.
And I think, Christian, we can confirm some higher up at Netflix listens to this show.
Oh, no.
Because
what happened?
A report from Variety. Netflix plans to make fewer films going forward. Instead of making around 50 films a year, they're going to make 25 to 30.
Yeah, but
quote, right now, it's about let's make what we believe in.
Yeah, but what do you believe in? Like, do you believe in Red Notice or do you believe in The Killer? Because those are two very fundamentally different things to believe in.
I think we can both say this is a good step, though, because we have always said
yes,
more is not always equal to good.
Yes, but it's a question of how is that money and time being used then instead of just spitting shit out.
I do have more details on the Legend of Zelda movie. Wes Ball is directing.
I saw that.
Avi Arad is producing. It's co-financed by Sony, and Jurassic World trilogy writer Derek Connolly is penning the script.
Which, so those of you who don't know who Wes Ball is, he did the Maze Runner films, and now he's doing the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes film that comes out next year. I don't want to be that guy, but it doesn't need to exist.
Yeah, we've gotten too many of those. Jeremy Allen White says he met for a Marvel-y movie and played it all wrong. Quote, I had an attitude. I said, tell me about why should I do your movie? They were like, fuck you. And I was like, right on.
I love Jeremy Allen White.
Moving right along the list.
I don't think there's much else at this point.
Spoiler warning, Tessa Thompson returns as Valkyrie in the Marvels. That also caught me for a loop. Very fun cameo. I love Tessa Thompson. She's a queen. I don't know if you saw this quote. Ridley Scott responds to TikToks calling out historical accuracies in Napoleon. This comes from the New Yorker. Get a life.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is gonna be a great Ridley quote. I'm gonna use the notes. People, go watch the new David Fincher, Michael Fassbender film on Netflix called The Killer. It's great. It's fun. It is hilarious. Hopefully, now that Loki's over, Dylan is done time slipping, and we can drag him back to the show to talk about his favorite boy.
And then more Jeremy Allen White. The Bear has officially been renewed for season 3.
Yeah, baby.
And then we mentioned it last week. We're adding Invincible to the docket, the Amazon Prime show. I'm going to do my best this weekend to binge most of, if not all of season 1. So we can just bang all of season 1 and just give a general synopsis thoughts on that, as now season 2 is underway. I think that's week by week.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
They're doing like the first half and then they're doing the second half at another time, I think. I don't know for sure.
I'll confirm it right now before we wrap. So 4 episodes are coming out in November, and then the final 4 are due in 2024.
Okay.
So we'll have at least 4 episodes of season 2 to break down, and then we'll have all of season 1 and just a general synopsis. But yeah, let us know in the YouTube comment section any shows or movies you want us to add to the list. If there's anything you've been watching and would recommend we give a look to, let us know. Be sure to follow us on the socials at StreamerSZN on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, and on TikTok at StreamerSZNPod. Follow Christian at the Wiz_PHI. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. Let's get to 700 subscribers by Thanksgiving, people. Let's make it happen. Let's give us something to be thankful for. Get your merch, phiapparel.co, code underground for 10% off your order. I recommend going and seeing the Marvels. I got a really cool souvenir popcorn bucket and cup as well from my theater that had a little toy topper on the cup. Was very bummed to find out I couldn't purchase the other 2 because you have to buy the cups. So may have to just splurge so I get them all because they're really cool. This has been another edition of StreamerSZN, the exclusive streaming platform, TV and movie podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Christian, I'm KB. We're going to go create our own thrones now that the strike has ended and break through into another universe. But until then, we're getting the heck up out of here. We're signing